Hello, welcome to another live show with me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio for a Thursday. It's 3 p.m. in London. It's 10 a.m. Eastern, and that means Thursday Q&A Live. We're here to help you with your DJing questions, your production conundrums, anything that's holding you back in your DJing right now. Do ask, because we're live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch for the next hour, and it's up to you what we talk about. So there's loads going on in the DJ world at the moment. You maybe want to talk about some of the stuff we've been featuring on Digital DJ Tips, and there's been some interesting things on the website recently. The new transmitter and receiver duo that you see in the middle of the screen there from a company called Dillinger. That means if you're running long cables from your DJ gear to your powered speakers, for instance, you now no longer need to run the cable if you've got one of these wireless systems. So we've got that in the studio, we've reviewed it, it's live on the website right now, and you can click through and look at that, but maybe you want to talk about this. Also, we've got the new speakers from Pioneer DJ. Again, we got reviews of all these speakers, but maybe you want to talk about those, about their little switch on the back to go from DJ to producer mode. What's that all about? Maybe you want to talk about that. And also, we've been looking at this really clever little cable that lets you basically plug a phone running DJ software into professional PA systems, add a microphone, monitor on headphones, and all this kind of thing. Maybe you've got cable conundrums that you want to talk about. It's my word of the day, isn't it? Conundrum. Anyway, the point is that this is all about you. We've got a lot of DJ courses we sell. We've got a lot of big names that help us to teach DJing, like Jazzy Jeff and Layback Luke, DJ Angelo, and so on. Not to forget James Hype. By the way, did you see James Hype playing at EDC in Las Vegas? It's incredible. Do go check out James Hype's socials. He played to 30,000 people at the weekend, and it's an incredible set that he played. It's also on his YouTube. You should go and have a look at that. We were very proud of him. Yeah, we work with all these big names, but we do this every week for free. So not only do we have Digital DJ Tips, the website, for free, where you can get reviews and all that kind of stuff, but we do these live shows as well. So we want to help you, whether you're up for buying a DJ course from us or not. Okay, so as I say, we're in the studio. We're surrounded by all the gear. We're surrounded by everything you could possibly need to have a great hobby or career in DJing. I can pull any of it out to talk about if you want, so don't hold back. Whatever your questions are, we're here for you. Now, we are, hopefully, because this hasn't worked the last couple of weeks, we are hopefully able to pull all your questions and queries up live on the screen from the comment cam. This is the comment cam, and the comment cam is back, which I'm very proud of. So hopefully that is something that is going to work from now on. Hello to Christian. It looks like it is working, which is cool. Hello to Robert and Troy and Mikkel, and to David, and to Stan, who's in sunny Cape Town. So hello, Stan. And to Keshia, who's saying, watching this while at work. Well, good on you, Keshia. It's got to be better than working, right? Unless you're a good multitasker. What's up, Phil? Says Mikkel. Hello to you. Right, let's do it then. So we're talking about all your DJing issues. We're live here. We can jump back to the workshop whenever we want to look at stuff. It's totally up to you. So this is from Brooke, who says, hi, where can you get free acapellas and instrumentals? It's actually a great question, and it's one that has changed recently, because there were always, like, back in the old days, you used to be able to get dodgy vinyl. This is not dodgy vinyl, this is just Serato control vinyl, but just to illustrate vinyl. You used to be able to get pieces of vinyl with like 10 acapellas on each side. And they were like brilliant gold dust. We used to buy those, and we used to use them to drop acapellas in over our sets and so on. And then as soon as the internet arrived, so did websites like Acapellas for You. .co.uk, and more recently websites like Vocaloid. But what's happened recently is that they've all been closed down, and so they're not there anymore. So there's a couple of places if you just want to go and get acapellas online. The first one is YouTube. You can just rip them from YouTube. It's one of the few times when we would say, go ahead, rip. Or you can get them from places like Beatport. Beatport has an acapella section, or DJ download pools. BPM Supreme, DJ City, Zip DJ, places like that also have acapellas that you can get when you're a subscriber, or just buy them individually if you're at Beatport, for instance. So they're all places to look. The reason I say, oh yeah, go on, rip them from YouTube, is that ethically, I think if you own the original record There's nothing wrong with getting the acapella any way you can. But that brings us on to the second way of getting acapellas, because let's jump back to the studio and talk about a great way of getting acapellas nowadays that is actually free, and it involves using the wonderful Virtual DJ software app. Because if you get Virtual DJ, you can switch on its live stems system, which will basically let you put a track up on the deck, hit play, and then cut out the kick drum, the hi-hats, the main drums, the melody, the vocals, or whatever. But more importantly, you can cut out everything except the vocals. Hit play, hit record in the software, and you'll end up with an acapella of the track that you've loaded in. Now, the reason I'm saying use Virtual DJ is that Virtual DJ is absolutely free to do this, because you can download it from their website, won't cost you anything, and it's only when you start plugging controllers in and wanting to use it with like a DJ controller like we've got set up here, then they'll ask for your money. But otherwise, if you're just using it on your desktop with your laptop, it's free. So use Virtual DJ to make homemade acapellas. Now, they're not going to sound as good as studio acapellas, but hey, for mixing with, they're great, and I could thoroughly recommend that as a way of doing it. So there's a few ideas there. Now, there's actually an article on Digital DJ Tips. As always, I do like to use this opportunity to kind of help yourself better. And so go to Digital DJ Tips, not only for this, but for anything else. Click the little magnifying glass in the top corner, and then type in what you're looking for. So if I'm looking for acapellas, and this will bring up everything we've got for acapellas. And this is the article you want, where to get acapellas of songs for DJing. I literally updated this yesterday. So this is bang up to date now with all the places that we would recommend you go and get acapellas from in 2022. So there is your answer. I hope that was useful to you. Let's get back to it then. Right, next comment, next live question from Sarah. Hello Sarah, not spoken for a while, hope you're well. I normally mix house and open format music, but I fancy having a go at techno for a change. Any tips on how to approach this? There seems to be a lot less easily mixable gaps and breakdowns in techno. Right, so in techno, it's all about the sonics, it's all about the sounds, and it's about loops. So techno is a very good place to start experimenting with playing bits of tracks that you like. So you could find a track that's got a really nice riff in it and loop it. Deck 1, sorted. You could find a track that's got a really pounding drum beat in it, loop it, deck 2, sorted. And then use deck 3 and 4 for acapellas, or maybe for looping an acapella to get a voice that you can then play with on your EQs, or getting a percussion pattern or a drum pattern that you like. And then techno is all about using those to build tension and release, to loop parts of songs into other songs. And so it's not really about playing a track end to end necessarily, but about taking the kick drum from here, a bit of vocal from here, a bit of a riff from here, and so on, and blending it together, because techno's not got an awful lot of melodic content a lot of the time. So you're not going to be so worried about whether your keys are clashing and so on. It'll be more like using your filters and your EQs, and as I say, creative uses of looping and so on to create a mood. So do go and look at techno DJs online who are doing this to get an idea of how it's done. But you'll see a lot of techno DJs spending a lot more time with EQ and with extra decks and not actually playing the full songs. And techno, a lot of techno is very minimal. It's designed to be played in this way, right? Sarah, I'd love to hear how you get on with that. Sounds absolutely brilliant. It's always exciting trying to mix new genres. Set yourself a target, like say you're going to mix a mixtape and get it done by the end of the month, or you're going to play your first techno set live, even if it is only in front of your best friend or whatever. But set yourself a target so that you don't slip. So this is from Jim, who says, I'm considering buying a Rane One, which is a fantastic device. I'm staring at one now, the Rane One. Could you try and explain the differences between Serato software effects and other controllers' onboard effects? Not much. So basically, the effects are very good in Serato, and there's a lot of them if you pay, because you need to buy expansion packs. I think there's 57 in total in Serato to get them all plugged in, and they're very good. So there's no real difference. Traktor's got excellent effects as well. Rekordbox has got good effects. So there's no real difference, but it's just a case of paying to get them, because you might find, I can't remember offhand, pretty sure when you plug the Rane One in, you get Serato DJ Pro, the good software, but you get the basic effects, which are very, very good, by the way. But there's just not 57 of them. So it's a case of if you want the extra ones, you're going to have to pay for them. Thank you, Charlie. Good to have you with us, my friend. Miggy says, it's been a great journey in DJing since 2015, turning a hobby into a freelance, though it still doesn't satisfy me. Obviously an ambitious person, Miggy. I've decided to stop my hobby. Thank you for teaching me all of these years. Wow, so your journey's come to an end. What are you going to replace it with, Miggy? Are you going to take up golf? I'm joking. I'm sure you're doing something extremely exciting, and I bet music's involved. Are you going to be making music? Do let us know, Miggy. And also, never say never. We all ebb and we all flow. I find taking off some of the constraints we've put on our hobbies can be enough to rekindle it. So if you've always said, I'm going to be a DJ, I'm going to make money DJing, I'm going to play gigs, I've got to get 12 gigs a year, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, that can suck some of the fun out of your DJing. But if you just throw all that out the window, but leave your gear set up and start listening to whatever music you want, because you're not trying to collect music now for the people that you DJ to or anything, and start just loving music for what it is, you sometimes find the DJing creeps back in eventually. Once a DJ, always a DJ. But Miggy, we wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much for being with us all that time. 7 years of fun. Maybe you've got the 7-year itch. Anyway, Beggarman says, Phil, have you done a review of the Traktor Control S3? I can't seem to find it, but I might not be searching YouTube properly. I've got a suspicion we haven't done a review of the Traktor Control S3. Shall we head over to the website together and have a look? I just got a feeling we haven't. So here's another way of searching our reviews, people. I'm teaching you here today. Head to the reviews tab at the top of the website and click on DJ gear. And then you can sort the DJ gear by software. So if I want to click on Traktor there, then it's going to bring all our Traktor reviews up. And so we've got the Traktor S4, the Traktor S2, but I think you're right. I think we didn't actually review the S3. So you're going to have to rely on one of our fantastic DJ friends' reviews of that, of which, of course, someone will have done a great one, I'm sure, because all the reviewers at the top of their game are very good at this stuff. So yeah, sorry about that. It seems to have slipped through the net. Very unlike us not to have done a review of something, but it does look like we missed that one. So anyway, Beggarman, thank you for that, and sorry we couldn't give you a positive there. Here's another Traktor question from Charlie Ford. I'm a big Traktor fan, but I want to stop using the S4 Mark III and start using the Control Z2 mixer with CDJs, but I'm scared if a laptop fails, what do you do for backup? Well, it's no different than if your laptop fails with your S4, you just have something plugged into the mixer. So the mixer's got a set of auxiliary inputs on the back. Let's go and have a look at that particular mixer here. So this is the Traktor Control Z2 mixer. This is made for Traktor. Around the back of this mixer, we get a close up on there, it's got inputs here, which are designed for not only inputting your CDJs, but also there's an auxiliary input there. So you could just plug something into the auxiliary input, and then if it all goes wrong, you can just quickly mix the auxiliary input in. And I would say just use something like your phone with a mix ready on your phone. And then that's going to be enough. Just have a mix ready on your phone, sat there, and you can hit play. It's going to come through that auxiliary channel, and then you can reboot. But there's no reason why you're going to have any more issues using CDJs or turntables, whatever you want to use, with a Traktor mixer than you would have using with a controller, really. It's all going to be pretty reliable. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, you're never going to have any issues at all with that. So good luck anyway. It's a good system. It's good to break out from controllers sometimes and use a big bulky mixer and get the other gear there as well. You could even experiment with using CDJs with Rekordbox and just using your music on a USB, just to give you another challenge. Right, let's pull ourselves back to the live chat, and I'm going to talk to Stan now, who says, can you please touch on gain settings? Because I use VDJ on my DDJ 1000, should I lower the decibels in the options or just mess with the trim on each song? Different download sites have different sound levels. Right, so this is a good time to talk about gain levels. What is gain? Why is it different to a fader? Why should we care about it? So let's go over to the controller I have here. It doesn't matter what controller you're using, by the way, when it comes to gain, they all work the same. So here's the thing. Every input channel can take an audio source, and your software doesn't know, or if you're DJing with hardware, it's exactly the same, doesn't know how loud that track you've loaded is. You could have loaded a very quiet track onto this deck. So when you load a track onto a deck and hit play, you're going to get levels, and those levels can be adjusted by turning the level or gain control, and it's always the one at the top here. And you want it to be not like that's overloading. That's about right. If it's just touching, literally just touching the top bar every now and then, you're about right. I mean, that's perfect where it is now. I know if I go up a tiny bit more, it's going to start going white. There we go. So I'll just turn it down a bit from the white. And obviously this is Numark, they use a weird red and white, but most are green and red, or green and yellow and red. But you don't want to go into the warning color. So that's fine now. So this control here is going to affect this channel only as much as you set that. It will never go louder than you set that to. So you know that wherever you put the master volume here, or the master volume for that channel, you're not going to distort the channel, as long as you don't turn the bass, mid and treble up, which is going to distort the channel because you're telling it to then amplify those things. That's why, by the way, it's better when you're EQing, it's better to turn down the EQ than to turn it up. So if you want to get this a little bit brighter sounding, turn down the mid and the bass so that the treble is a bit more dominant. And then if you have to turn the level up a bit more to get that flashing back into near to the white, that's fine. But it's always better to turn these things down than to turn them up, because you accidentally distort if you turn them up, maybe. Now at this point, if you have separate meters for the output, and this particular control doesn't, then, so let's say there was another meter going away here for the output, we'd turn our main volume up until that one was just out of the red, or just out of the peak LED, and then we'd know this was running at the right volume. So the question you asked is about individual channels. So if I loaded a track on the other channel and it was very quiet, I might have to have my gain a lot higher to get this at the level that works for that channel, and so on and so on. So the point with gain controls is that they're there so that we can adjust the individual inputs. And back in the day, again, talking about vinyl, in fact, talking about what I was saying, you know, I said we used to get albums that had 10 acapellas on each side. Now, to fit 10 acapellas on the side of an album, the grooves have got to be really, really close together and really tiny. And that means that that album will be quiet. So you need to turn the gain up really high in order for it to balance a really well-pressed, loud 12-inch, right? So the differences were very pronounced back in the vinyl days. Nowadays, you've got two things on your side. In your software, there's an auto gain that you can switch on. So if you turn on auto gain in the music settings of your software and the mixer settings of your software, I don't know exactly where they are in here, to be honest. It might be in the DJ preferences. There it is, auto gain. And don't worry too much about this, just leave it where it was set in default with the software. If you turn auto gain on, then, and this is the same in all software, by the way, I'm using Serato here, but it's the same in all software, then you don't have to worry about these here. It will do a good job of just setting the gains for you and making sure you don't distort. But that's not going to help you if you've got your DJ software running and you've also got records plugged in, or you've also got CDJs, or you're also trying to equalize a microphone plugged into one of your channels on a real mixer or whatever. So it is a good idea. I mean, in the vinyl days, we got into the habit of setting our gains every time we put a new track on. You'd put the needle to the loudest part in the track and then set the gain and make sure you weren't up into the final LED here. But nowadays, it's optional. And if you can't be bothered doing any of this, just set the auto gain in your software and forget about it. Right, let's do this. Thank you for that question, Stan. This is from Craig. I recently, oh wow, look at the size of that. I don't think I can get that any bigger. I recently had a discussion with a few DJs who DJ at events like weddings or corporate events, etc. And they're saying it's now common where clients or guests want to see more from the DJ. I argued it's mainly about song selection, but apparently they want to see more. Have you heard about this, and what do you think? Any examples of what I can do to impress? It's a brilliant thing to notice, Craig, and it's true. And the reason it's true is that the people getting married nowadays are people who were clubbing when they were teenagers, and they saw DJs doing a great job of playing DJ sets. That's probably where they met, where they went out together. And so, whereas wedding DJs in the past were happy happily allowed to, if you like, just play music back to back and mumble into a microphone. Those days are long gone. If you want to impress as a wedding DJ now, you need to be able to mix. You need to be able to get everyone on the dance floor and keep them there. You know, if you watch someone like our tutor of our wedding course, which isn't on sale at the moment, by the way, but it will be at some point soon, Jason Janai, who's one of the biggest wedding DJs in the States. If you watch Jason DJing, he can go from 1950s up to like literally EDM in one quick move, and then he's back to the 70s, then he's back to something for your parents, and he's back to something for the kids, and he mixes very quickly and very on point and does a very good job of keeping everyone on the dance floor by playing a bit of everything but very well. And that's because the people on the dance floor now were brought up with DJ culture. DJ culture isn't new, it's accepted. And so you do need to know how to mix properly as a wedding DJ if you want to stand out. Now, interestingly, we are working on a course at the moment with the working title of Club DJ Tricks for Wedding DJs, or Club DJ Tricks for Mobile DJs. That's the working title of the course, because we've realized that. And we're taking the top like 500 wedding songs of all time and showing you how to mix them creatively. So keep an eye out for that, Craig. But I know I agree with the people who were chatting. Selection is always the most important thing. But here's the thing with mixing. Lesser DJs will play music based on how easily they can mix it. So they'll start a set, play a song, mix into something they know they can mix into, and they'll do that again, and they'll do that again. Better DJs will think, what's the right song to play next? And they'll find a way to mix it in. And that's what we want to teach you. We want to teach you to go from being an average DJ to a good DJ to a great DJ by being able to pick whatever you want to play next and making it happen. So that's what this course is going to be about. Right, this is from Nexu Jin. Says, I'm going to upgrade my DDJ 400 and Zone K2 to an Allen and Heath mixer with a send return. What are good effects units I should check out? The Pioneer DJ effects units are very good. You could get a Chaos pad, but also one thing that I think is a good idea is using an iPad with an audio interface and then just using effects on an iPad. There's apps that work on iPads that'll give you some great effects there. So you could have a look at that. But anyway, Nexu is on YouTube. So if you've got, or guitar effects pedals, you see a lot of that nowadays. A really nice analog echo or something on a guitar effects pedal. So maybe that's something that you could have a look at. But Nexu's on YouTube. So if you're in the chat on YouTube, go and give some advice there on what you would plug in to a send return on a mixer. It's not something we've covered actually. It's a great topic. I'm going to scribble that one down. As our regulars know, this is something we do a lot. You suggest something, I scribble it down, and it ends up becoming Digital DJ Tips content. Thank you for that, Nexu. As I say, something we should be taking a look at for sure. Right. Ricky, thanks for what all you guys do. You're very welcome. So I have a DDJ SX3, and if I upgrade to an XDJ XZ, will I lose all my cue points and comments if I converted this to this standalone unit? You can convert your cue points for sure using DJ conversion utility, DJCU. Let me show you how you can find that. Head over to your browser, which I'm going to do now. Type DJCU into Google and click on the top result. You've got to be a Mac user to use this. This will allow you to convert everything across without losing it. I don't know if you actually get the comments based around, you know, like if you've got comments on your cues, depends on what you convert it to. I'm not sure about that, but certainly all your cues and all your loops and all your playlists and all your work that you've done on your music library can be converted between pretty much everything and everything else with DJ conversion utility. If you are not a Mac user, something we've been looking at recently and we've been really impressed with is in fact I'll show it to you, is a piece of software called Lexicon DJ. So Lexicon DJ does a lot more. It's designed to do a lot more than just what I just described. But basically it's a way of getting your whole music library it's like iTunes but for DJs. So it allows you to organize your music library, allows you to tidy it up. This is what it looks like. Allows you to do all your tagging, quick fixes, make smart playlists. And then when you're ready, you can click sync and it will sync it out to any DJ app you want. So it becomes a master library that you can then push out to any DJ app you want. And my my view of this is that this could, if it's developed properly and if it continues to develop like it has recently, become something that's quite compelling for DJs who play on more than one system. And the reason I'm pausing here is I'm just trying to remember if this is for Windows and Mac. I should know that. It's a question that I asked them when I was chatting to them about it, but it just escapes my mind right now whether it is for Windows and Mac. That is what happens when you are getting older. The non-important stuff leaves your mind unless you write it down and know where to find it again. And that is where I'm at. So I'm not sure about that, but maybe someone can help me out with that. I'm pretty sure it is for Windows and Mac. So that's called Lexicon DJ. Again, you can just Google that and find it there. Right, what have we got? This is from Waylon, who's in New Zealand. Waylon says, I have got a open deck slot, 11 p.m. on a Friday night for 30 minutes. It's a huge opportunity. However, I'm a house DJ and everyone before me is a drum and bass DJ and the one after me is a multi-genre slot. What do you recommend I play? Do you have any tips? It's a great question. It's a very hard one to answer, of course. It's going to depend on how well the drum and bass DJs are doing. If the drum and bass DJs aren't hitting the spot, I mean, at the end of the day, your job is to hit the spot with the crowd, right? So, you know, if they don't want drum and bass and they don't want house, then Mr. Open Format's going to have the party of his life when he comes on after you. So really, it's a case of playing what the crowd want while staying true to what you do. So what I would do is start off with some house that's maybe faster tempo, that's maybe house remixes of drum and bass songs, and try and move in slowly to your tempo. If you are a competent mixer, you could try and bring that tempo down over a couple of tracks so that you're not just jumping straight into a house tempo from the off. It just depends on, you know, the beauty of DJing for me, and the reason you can't ever know DJing properly, which is a good thing, by the way, because as soon as you know something properly, you get bored of it. The beauty of DJing for me is that it's always a puzzle. It's always like playing chess. It's always a game every time you DJ. What's going to work and what have I got and what do I do that overlaps with what these people want? So my recommendation is to get there early, to listen, to think about what might work, to see how well the music's going down, and to think about, you know, what tracks have I got that maybe are a gateway between what's going on now and what's going on next. And if you know that you're playing with a drum and bass DJ before you're an open format DJ afterwards, you might want to start playing a little bit more towards what the open format DJ is doing, because it's good etiquette to do that and it'll be remembered. You know, maybe a couple of pop songs that have been remixed into house tracks before this DJ comes on. So anyway, I hope it goes well, Waylon, and do let us know. I look forward to hearing your idea as to how it went afterwards. Thank you for that. So Andy says, I've been waiting for a part from Pioneer DJ. It's a channel fader for my S7 mixer. It's been over 4 months and they still say I gotta wait. Is there a problem with Pioneer for parts? There's a problem for parts and equipment, full stop. However, I think waiting 4 months for a fader is pretty excessive. Nothing I've heard of, so good luck with that, Andy. Again, let us know how it goes on. We are live today on Twitch, Facebook and YouTube. Welcome, it's me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio. We're halfway through, so if you're enjoying today's show, hit those likes, hit those loves, give us some affection, please. We do enjoy seeing that you're having fun, but we'll carry on. I've got lots and lots of your comments all live on the screen here, and I'll grab another one to talk about here now. Peter, I'm looking to buy a sub $1,000 DJ speaker or PA with no latency for smaller outdoor parties, less than 50 people. Any recommendation? You're not going to get latency on any PA systems, so this is worth talking about actually. The thing with speakers, right, that you plug in to your DJ system is that a lot of them nowadays, even if you use a wire to plug from your DJ system into a speaker, will have what's called latency. And that means that if you were to plug a pair of headphones into the mixer, hold the headphones on your ear and listen out for the and then listen to the speaker will be slightly behind the headphones, and it's infuriating. It's infuriating anyway, but it's infuriating if you want to manually beat mix using those speakers. It's just horrible, you don't want it. So The reason that happens is that a lot of today's consumer speakers that aren't for the likes of you and me, that are sold to people who just want a nice speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker, you know, the JBLs and the Bose, they're always Bluetooth speakers, always. They are designed so that you can get another one, and then another one, and then another one, and press a special button on the top, and they all link together, right? Perfect for parties. Wouldn't that be the best thing ever? But that introduces something called latency. And that latency circuitry tends to now be switched on even if you plug in something with a wire, which never used to be the case. So that means those speakers are not suitable for DJing. The good news is that as soon as you buy PA speakers, speakers that are obviously made to be used by musicians, you won't find that at all. So I've got an example here of a smaller Bluetooth speaker that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a newish one. This is from a company called Soundbox. This is called the Soundbox Go. This isn't the one I'm going to recommend to you, by the way. This is actually a Bluetooth speaker. It's just a big, beefy, loud one. It's got battery. This has got a line in, and you plug your DJ gear into the line in on this, and you will get no latency at all. Now, very interestingly, that speaker, along with the bigger one, the Soundbox 3, has got a 0 or very, very low latency wireless system built in. So you can actually link a couple of them together without a wire between them and still have low enough latency to DJ, which is pretty cool. Uses a system called SCAR, which funnily enough is the same system that's used in these units that I was talking about a little bit earlier. Which we've just reviewed on the website, which I showed you at the beginning of the show, which gives you wireless links between, say, a DJ controller and your speakers. Well, the Soundbox speakers, of which I just showed you one, have actually got that system built in. So, it's pretty cool. So, below $1,000, I'd have a look at the Soundbox speaker actually. The big one is probably around $1,000. It's a very good speaker, and for 50 people, probably loud enough. I mean, you'd only get one for that money. A small PA system under $1,000, I don't want to recommend anything right now other than the PA systems that we use here, which I'm not sure if you can get in the States. I'm guessing you're in the States, which is called the Dave G3, and there's a few versions of the Dave G3. This is the 12, which is the smallest one. So you could get one like this, grab yourself a stand for it, and you'll have a great sounding system that you could also use at home, by the way. These are small enough to use at home. I'm not sure what the price of the Dave 12 G3 is. Made by a company called LD Systems in Europe, but these are very good PAs. We recommend these because we basically use them ourselves. So go and have a look at the Dave G3 systems. There's 3 of them, and that's the very, very smallest one on the internet. See if that's something that might be good for you. But I'm sure other people have got recommendations as well. So if you are watching this and you've got a recommendation, Peter is watching over on our YouTube channel, so that is a good place. So we were talking about auto gain. Chuck doesn't really like it. Hello, by the way, Chuck. But DJ Techno Boom really does like auto gain. So there we go. I think it's all right. I tend to leave it on and then just tweak it on the main gains myself. But anyway, right, so here is a production question. Great, this is from Stephen on Facebook, who says, I just want to know, what are the differences between a synthesizer, drum machine, sequencer and sampler? Can you name a device no more than £700 to make house music on? Thank you. It's a really good question, and let me answer it very quickly for you. To start with, all those things are inside Ableton Live or FL Studio or Logic Pro or GarageBand or any of those Reaper or any of those DAWs or digital audio workstation pieces of software that you can run on your computer. They all have all these things inside them. So if you just want to get a piece of software to run on your laptop, you get all that and more, right, in those pieces of software. But personally, I like making music away from the laptop, and you can buy items that are exactly what you're just describing that do all those tasks. So let's talk through a few of them. So a synthesizer is a piece of equipment that makes sound. This is a synthesizer. This is a little Uno Synth Pro from IK Multimedia. Now these have what are called oscillators in them, which basically make a very basic sound. And then you can combine the oscillators, tune them against each other, and apply effects and filters to them to make all kinds of sounds. So a synthesizer is where when you hear people talking about sound design, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about designing sounds that you can then play on a keyboard. A drum machine is usually a type of sampler, and a sampler is something which takes sounds that already exist and plays them back for you. And a drum machine usually has got lots of samples of drums in it, sounds of drums, and it plays them back. A sampler is just that. It's just something that you can load sounds onto and play them back. And so you could put recordings of voices, you could put recordings of drums as we talked about, but anything else as well. And so a sampler is a musical instrument insofar as once you've got those samples on it, you can play them on a keyboard and stuff as well. A sequencer is a piece of equipment which tells the other pieces of equipment what to play and what order to play them in. So a sequencer would say, if you've got a sequencer plugged into a drum machine and to a synthesizer, the sequencer could say to the synthesizer, play these notes in this order, and it could say to the drum machine, play this drum like this and playing this other drum like this. And so it tells all the instruments you've got plugged in what to play and in what order. And so if you think of if you think of production software where you get that grid and you're laying out, here are the drums, here's the keyboards, here's the synth and so on. And across the grid, it's saying this is when stuff's meant to happen. That is a sequencer. That's doing the job of a sequencer. Now, when it comes to something of no more than £700 to make house music on, there's loads of options. If you want to make house music on hardware, there's loads of options for that money. I'm going to make you a suggestion here, which will cost you half of that. And the reason I'm going to make this suggestion is that it might cost you nothing. This is actually what I use at home to just, when I've got downtime, I want to mess around with music. This is exactly what I use. It's by a company called Novation, and it's called the Circuit Tracks. So back to the website. Again, we're going to go to our reviews section here. We're going to go to production gear this time. And here it is, Novation Circuit Tracks standalone groove box. So this will cost you 300 UK pounds. This is a really interesting little device, and we've got a full review here. We've got a video of me talking you through it as well. This is a really interesting device. It looks like this, by the way. Looks just like this. This is actually their drum machine. So with what you now know, you can tell me what this is, right? It's a sampler that's designed primarily for using drums on. This is their drum machine, but I won't talk about this one. I'll actually talk about the one that we've got on the screen there. What's really interesting about the Novation Circuit Tracks is it's what's called a groove box. This is designed, if I just get closer to it, this is designed to let us do everything you need to make music in one unit. So these two channels here are synthesizers. You've got two synthesizers in here where you can not only use the sounds they give you, but play with sounds and make your own. Then you've got the ability, these two channels here, imagine each one of these is a channel strip. Just like on this, each one of these is a channel strip, right? So these are all individual sounds, or records in the case of DJ gear. In the case of this, these are all individual sounds. You've got 8 sounds going on here, right? So you've got a synthesizer on the first one, synthesizer on the second one. These two let you plug in external gear. So for instance, if you had a synthesizer you really like the sound of, this is one synthesizer I absolutely love. It's called the Volca FM. This is £120, $120 or something. It's a very cheap little thing. This sounds like the Yamaha DX7 classic 80s synthesizer. So you could plug this into this and control it from this. I'm going to tell you how that works in a minute. So you've got 2 of those. You can plug 2 external instruments in, and then you've got 4 drum tracks. So you can have 4 drum sounds playing, and in fact you can have more. You can have each of these playing lots of different sounds as long as there's only 4 playing at once. So this is the sampler section, and it's designed for drums, but you could put vocals on here and stuff if you wanted. So this one unit does 8 things, can play 8 sounds. And that's enough to make simple house music, especially if you start adding extra simple instruments in here with the rest of your budget. But it's more than that. It also is a sequencer, so you can tell it what order to play things in. And it's also a mixer, so you can balance all the things. And it's also got rudimentary effects on it, reverb and delay. It's a really, really fun little thing to use, and you can make music very, very quickly on the circuit tracks. And the reason I said you might be able to get one of these for free is that we are currently running a competition with these guys, and you'll find it at the time of presenting this live on the Digital DJ Tips website. You've still got time to enter. So do take a look and find the giveaway. Win Novation Circuit Tracks Groove Boxes, because we've got 2 of these to give away for free, and this is open until the 31st of May. And you can enter it by clicking on that link there. It's on the Digital DJ Tips homepage right now. So you could win one. So you get it for nothing, and that'll give you a lot of money to spend on extra equipment. So I do like that. You know, there's lots and lots of ways of making music at that kind of budget, and you could just buy Ableton Live and stick it on your laptop and do it all in the box, so to speak. But I do like this way of doing it. I think this is pretty cool. Right, thank you for your question. Let's get back to our live questions then. This one is from Lewis, who says, I currently own a DDJ FLX6, but I want to ditch the laptop and go standalone. What's your recommendation? So the DDJ FLX6 or Flex 6 is a record box controller. So I would go for a record box standalone system, and the one to go for would be the XDJ RX3, which is the best mixture of price, size and features probably nowadays. I always say stick with the software you're used to, and you're used to record box, so that would be my recommendation for you, Lewis, over there on Facebook. Thank you for that. Have you tried Street Heart and Danny from a distance? That is the 2 boxes that we were talking about here, says Mo. No, the biggest distance we've tried, those 2. The biggest distance we've tried these from is across the office. However, we are assured, and I've got no reason to disbelieve the company, that they'll run 50 meters with line of sight. And it'll be a bit less than that in the real world, I'd imagine, which obviously is plenty for any DJ. I haven't got these speakers built, so sorry about that. It's not something I can do a review on, but thank you for asking that. So any help in buying a chair or desk for a studio setup? Right, so let's answer that part of your question here, Paul. So if you are setting up to DJ, then I thoroughly recommend that you get something that is kitchen surface height as a minimum. This is kitchen surface height. You don't want any lower than this, because you need to be able to stand with your back straight and your shoulders back and get to your DJ gear. You could get away with higher than this, where my hands are now, you know, but measure your kitchen surface at home, measure the height of your kitchen surface, and see if you put a DJ controller on there, if it feels about right. That's the height you want. Don't try and DJ stood up at any normal table, because you'll hurt your back instantly. If it's for production, then you're going to want to sit down. You should be sat there for hours. So I think gaming chairs, you know, my son has got a gaming chair. It's really comfortable. I think a gaming chair and a nice table would be good for that. You can get them at IKEA and places like that, where they've got all the grooves to hide the wires and cables and stuff in, which I think are a really nice idea, just to keep it all tidy. And my little studio at home, that's exactly what I've got. But what if you're a DJ and you're a producer? Well, again, IKEA is your friend. I really love those IKEA tables that will go from a standing desk to a sitting desk by just a bit of hydraulics, bit of hydraulic cleverness. They're brilliant, and they're great if you want to do both from the same desk. There's something wrong with sitting down to DJ, I think. There's something really wrong about it. I can't do it. I don't think people should. But I also think there's something tiring about standing up for 6 hours tuning a kick drum when you're making music. You know, I want to be sat down when I'm doing that. So if you want to do both, get one of those desks that moves between the 2. Right, thank you for the question there. Let's get back to your live questions then. And we've got loads more here. I can never get to them all. So I want to give you a bit of advice. Come to our Facebook page for these Thursday Q&As rather than anywhere else. And the reason is not because we love Facebook, but the questions you ask live stay underneath the recording of the broadcast afterwards, which means my team and I can get to you and answer them, whereas on YouTube they get lost in the chat box and they're harder for us to come and help you with. Thank you for all of them anyway, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. This is from Stan. talking about keeping guests happy when you're a mobile DJ. Stan says, I get on the floor with my guests. And even when they ask how the controller works, I never act big or nasty. I get great tips and I have good feedback, also dancing behind the desk. And I agree with you. If you're having fun and being friendly, it's part of the job. So yeah, that's a good point there. You don't want to be standoffish and arrogant if you're trying to win hearts and minds, for sure. So this is from Pasadena. Oh, I love this question. On Twitch, thank you for being there. I'm sorry it comes across so small. Can you recommend any vibration isolation for Technics Mk7s? What can make the Mk7s get close to the Mark II in isolation? I have a pair of Mk7s and I love them in my home studio. I did not have any bad experiences so far with my studio monitors, but I might need to bring them to a gig, and I've read negative things about its isolation under heavy bass conditions. Right. There's a bit to unpack here for DJs who don't use turntables, but we're up for it, so let's do it. So we'll go over to the desk in order to do this. Imagine this was a turntable as opposed to a controller, and it had a record playing on it, and it had a needle on it. Now, if I had big, beefy bass bins in this room, because it was actually a nightclub, the whole surface would probably be rattling. You know, you walk into a nightclub DJ booth, you can often hear the rattling of all the fitments rattling away. And that gets transferred through to the record decks, and then that gets transferred to the needle. And of course, we've already talked about how tiny the grooves are in needles when you're playing records. So if you're playing vinyl, that's very likely to skip and jump because the bass vibration comes in. And worse than that, when the needle's just sat there on the record on a quiet bit or on a bit where there's nothing playing, it can cause feedback where literally you get this bass rumble getting louder and louder. It's not good. So how do you isolate for that? How do you fix that? Well, there's two ways of going about this. The first way is to make sure that even though there's rumble in the room, it's not getting transferred to the decks. And the very best DJ booths use, like, they'll have something bolted into the concrete floor of the club, isolated from all the stuff around, with concrete blocks, and the decks are on the concrete blocks, and then nothing moves. I've seen decks hung from the ceiling to try and get the same thing, to try and stop the vibrations. I've seen people with decks on cushions to try and stop the vibrations coming through. So it's a case of trial and error, really, but there is an issue with the Technics Mk7s as opposed to the Mark IIs. The Mark IIs were the Technics turntables people had forever. I've got some over there sat on the top of the shelf. They weren't perfect, they vibrated away, but they were heavy, and that heaviness kind of damped some of the vibrations. The Technics Mk7s, which are the current ones, in a lot of ways are very, very, very good turntables, but they're very lightweight compared to the originals, and therefore they're not as good as isolating themselves. And my friend Mojax did a good video where he took a Mark II and a Mark VII down to a DJ hire company, and he put them by a bass bin, and he cranked the volume up, and the Mark VII wasn't as good as the Mark II. That said, just try it. You might find it's fine. You know, we're talking about fine margins here, really. You might find it's fine. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And if you do hear feedback, one of the best ways of stopping feedback is just to quickly pull the bass control down for a second, and then lob the volume down, get it back under control, and then move them both up. It'll be the bass that's causing it for sure. So if you can knock the bass out of the signal in the room, it will knock the feedback out from your needles. And if you're using DVS, it's not so much of a problem, to be honest, because DVS is quite used to coping with that. So yes, it's a problem, but nowhere near as bad. It's when you're playing real records that could be an issue for you. Thank you. Good question. Nice to talk about vinyl every now and then. We're quite happy to talk about vinyl, even though we are digital DJ tips. We love all DJing. This is from Spiros, who says, "Hi Phil, do we have some news from Native Instruments for a new DJ controller? Please answer. I wish it was a bigger S4 with bigger screens and bigger jog wheels. Many rumours I heard, I'm waiting to see. No idea. We know there's new hardware coming from Native Instruments, but we haven't got a clue what it is. And they are not, you know, some companies will tweet, I mean tweet as in like in my ear, not on Twitter, little bits of information and tease things, but NI, they don't do it. So, you know, I'll find out when you find out." Right, okay, so you guys are the truth. Charlie, I love you. I love you, Charlie. It's always good to have you here. Craig says, "I got my fingers crossed for this competition. I missed out on the Euro Millions the other week, so my luck has to change." What did they win? how much money was it they won? It was like 160 million or something. Maybe it wasn't quite that much. Maybe it's 40 million. Anyway, yes, that person, that couple who won the money, they did win big, didn't they? Do not sit. I stand whenever I'm DJing and producing. Otherwise, I'd always be sitting. Yes, if you're sat down at work all the time. That's one of the reasons I don't like using a computer at home when I'm making music, by the way, because I don't like using a computer, because I'm staring at a computer now. I've got a computer over there that I use on the live streams and when I'm doing my stuff at work. I don't want a computer when I'm at home to do my music making. Yeah, you know, it's one of the reasons for making music with gear that isn't a computer. This is from Justin. I like this. It seems those big DJs have whatever a cappella or instrumental of a song they like to make a perfect mashup. How can we beginners get what we're interested in? Well, I've already told you, rip it using Virtual DJ, or make sure you've bought the original song and then go get the acapella off YouTube. Someone might have already done that for you. And one of the big tips I've got with acapellas is make sure you get them in tune with the music you want to play them over. If you are playing an acapella over a tune and you're using Camelot, which is where you use the number and the letter, which is what I would recommend, by the way, if you can get the key to show on your, let's have a look at Camelot. If you can get the key to show on your DJ software in this system, then it's going to be a lot easier for you. So we'll jump over to Serato and see if we can, here's an example of it. Yep, so look where my arrow is here in the middle of the screen. So these two tracks here, this one is in Camelot 6A, and this one is in Camelot 4A. That's a 6, that's a 4. So forget the letter, just go on the number. You want to get the number the same or adjacent in order to work an acapella over a piece of music. So let's say that that first track is my instrumental, the one I've got loaded on there. The one I've got loaded on here is my acapella. It's not, by the way. So at the moment that wouldn't work. That's a 6 and that's a 4. That would probably be a key clash. So you're going to move the key up or down to find one that does work. So I'm going to move the key up there to 1, up it again to 8. Well, neither of those are either side of the 4. I'll move it down to 11. Oh, down again to 4. Now they're both the same, a 4 and a 4. So that's going to work. Now I've moved this down 2 notes and this one's still the same. So in this instance, I'd probably move that one up a note and that one up a note. So they're both closest to where they were. And now again, they're the same number, an 11 and an 11. This is opening a whole can of worms, how to key mix. And it's not something I can explain now, but if you don't take stock of the letter and only the number, and you use the Camelot system, you can always match an acapella to a piece of music within 2 notes up or down. And usually that's enough to make it sound great. So there's my one tip. However, my second tip, and this is the biggest tip really, is to head over to Digital DJ Tips again. And this time I want you to go to the search box and I want you to search for key mixing. And I want you to type it in as one word because we use key mixing as one word. And then you're going to come across this article here, which is called Fuzzy Key Mixing, the easy new way to mix anything into anything. And I want you to read this article, I want you to understand this article, and I want you to start applying this in your DJing, whether you use acapellas or not. Because this is key mixing 2.0. This is key mixing how it should always have been done in the first place. And this is how we've always taught it. And the whole industry has kind of ignored the way we do it for years and years and years, until guess what happened quite recently? What happened quite recently was Pioneer DJ, in its flagship CDJ 3000 players, they added a key sync button. But their key sync button used what we call fuzzy key mixing. It recognized that the theory of music states that you're probably going to get a good mix between 2 songs by doing what I just showed you there, and that button does it for you on that controller. And so apparently Virtual DJ has got the same as well. It's called Smart Key Sync. So go read the article because honestly, you'll be confused now, but that article will make it all plain. Again, go over to Digital DJ Tips, or you can just go to Google because if you go to google.com and search for fuzzy key mixing, probably more fun to do it in Google because that way you'll find not only us talking about it, but you'll also find other people talking about it, and you can see people's results with our way of key mixing, which are generally overwhelmingly positive. So whichever way you do it, go and look at that, and that is the way to make your a cappella mashups sound good. And I can guarantee you all pro DJs are matching key when they're making a cappella mashups. They're not just doing it randomly. Right. Loving it today. I hope you guys and girls are. Potter says sit on an exercise ball when you're producing. I love it. Thank you for that. Fatigue mats are loving this, loving the conversation. Fatigue mats are good if you're standing. Yes, those nice padded fatigue mats. I agree completely. So this is from Writers. This is a great question. Please tell me the difference between digital and line cable connections as regards quality. Okay, so let's grab a DJ mixer and I will show you the difference between these. So here's the thing. In fact, we'll start off with a CDJ 3000, as we just did. So this is a CDJ 3000. Let's look on the back of the CDJ 3000. So on the back of here, we have two sets of outputs. These here, which are analog, and that one there, that single one, which is digital. They're both stereo. They both send a stereo signal. The old-fashioned analog one does it by sending the left hand down one and the right hand down the other. This one sends it effectively like a computer would, digitally. Now, on the back of a mixer, and I'm now going to pick up a mixer and show you that, your input channels on the back of a mixer give you the choice of either analog inputs or digital inputs. Here's the digital input. Where are the digital inputs? There they are. So you have analog or digital. There they are. Try and get one on the screen. They're the digital inputs. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 channels of digital input there, and you've got your analog inputs. So the question is, why and which is best? So to understand that, you need to understand what's happening inside your equipment when you DJ. When you're DJing with a CDJ player, everything's happening digitally. Your music is digital, right, on your USB drive. Everything's happening digitally. It's not real audio going on in there. It's digital computer audio. If you plug a digital cable into the back of that and plug it into the digital input on your mixer, that signal remains digital all the way through. The mixer is doing everything digitally as well. Only at the end of all that, when it's time to send it to the speakers, does the mixer, which is on the floor, which is why I keep pointing down there, does the mixer convert it to what's called analog audio and send it like a normal audio signal down a cable that can be put into an amplifier and speakers. If you plug into the back of here your old-fashioned analog and then plug that into the analog input on your mixer, what happens then is that your CDJ player is taking the digital signal, turning it into an analog signal, sending it down an old-fashioned cable, it's turning up in the mixer, and the mixer's turning it back into a digital signal, doing its thing, and then turning it back into an analog signal to send to the speakers. In other words, all that stuff's going on unnecessarily when you could just have one simple digital computer link between the two, which is what's happening if you use the digital cable. So it's always best to use the digital cable if you've got the option, and which you have, for instance, on Pioneer Pro Gear, on Den and DJ's version of that as well, because you're stopping the number of times the analog to digital converter has to make a conversion in one direction or the other, and in theory you're keeping the music quality a little bit higher than it would have been otherwise. Love it. Thank you for the question. Let's get one or two more then. We're at the end of the day, we're at the end of the hour, and I know some of you have got to shoot off. So positive, I explained the answer to your question there. Go check out Fuzzy Key Mixing. So I hope that will help you. When you're DJing, do you need a mixer at all, or just buy a controller, which is what the Rane 707M is? No, you don't need a mixer, a controller, especially something like that one, which has got so many input and output options. It's going to be fine for most people most of the time. Mixing in key, says Jack, is null 99% of the time. Fans don't listen anyway. No, but it's one of those things that sounds bad and you maybe don't know it sounds bad, but it sounds a lot better if you get it right. I have to respectfully disagree with you there. 100%. Jack, Daryl, thanks for all the information and tips. I'm 53 now. I'm unfortunately not working, but I'm getting back into my passion for the craft. Once again, thank you and all the stuff. It's great to know that you're doing something you love, Daryl. Forget about your troubles and mix your music. We're with you all the way. This is from the Ruckus. If you're in a bit of advice, if you're in an enclosed DJ booth this summer, make sure you drink your water. My club opened back up last week and I got dehydrated out after my first set. So thanks for the advice there. And we're going to have to leave it there, people. And the debate's going on. Yeah, back in the vinyl days, says Positive, DJs, hardly anyone mixed in key. No. Doesn't mean it's not better to do it now. Now that we can, it's better to do it, I would definitely say. Unless you figured out the key of the tune. Sasha did. Sasha was always one of those DJs that got this right. And of course, Sasha made a career by being someone who mixed in key. He was the exception that proved the rule, really, I think. Ryan says, thank you for watching. I always love watching this. Well, we love having you here, Ryan. So thank you, everyone, for being part of it. Look, we got to go now, but it just is left for me to say, come back on Tuesday when we're going to have another Tuesday Tips Live, where we'll be looking at something big going on in the DJ world. There's always something big going on in the DJ world, so whatever it is, we'll be covering it. Could be a new piece of kit, could be a new skill, could be something that you guys have asked about today, who knows. But Tuesday is our themed show, and then next Thursday, same time, 3 p.m. London, 10 a.m. Eastern, is our Any Questions show, where we're just here in the studio helping you with anything you want help with. Guys and girls, it's an absolute pleasure to do this. If you stumbled over, whoops, it's not what I wanted to do at all. If you stumbled over this and you are new to this all, go and sign up. It's free to sign up to Digital DJ Tips. You get a free copy of our book, Rock the Dance Floor, which you can also buy on Amazon. You can also buy in bookshops. You can also get an Audible and a Kindle version. But I want to give it to you for free when you join Digital DJ Tips, again, by going to that link there. But also, more importantly, you get our Tuesday Tips email, which is the best place to advance your DJing because it's full of news and reviews and features, guest mixes, but also free lessons from our courses. So it's free, so sign up. We'd love to have you as our latest member. Meanwhile, from me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tips studio, get good, get out there, make the moments. We'll see you again very soon. Till next time, bye-bye.